Hey guys, Mr. B here, bringing you another awesome math video. This video is going to be on a sort of I don't want to call it lower level topic, but you know, for some of our younger math students, and a topic that a lot of you guys could use some refresher on, I might add, and that's adding fractions. So I'm going to start simple, and I'm going to start with an example that you don't need a common denominator for. So if I have something like let's say 2 over 7 plus 3 over 7. So the thing you have to notice about this example, and why this is a good example to start with, is there's already a common denominator. So what I mean by a common denominator, and I don't want to take anything for granted in here, is that I don't want to take for granted that I can actually spell denominator. I probably spelled it wrong. Is that common denominator means the number in the bottom of the fraction is the same in both fractions. So if we do that, then really all we have to, if we have that already, then all we have to do is take the top two numbers and add them together. So we do 2 plus 5. So a lot of my students, when they're starting out writing this, they'll actually do 2 plus 3, which equals 5. 2 plus 3, and they'll write one common denominator, and they'll just write 7. So you don't have to add the bottom together. All you got to do is take what's there. And then you end up with 5 over 7. So it's very straightforward, just like that. So let's try another one. So it doesn't matter how big the numbers get. If we have 15 over 30 plus 6 over 30, all we got to do is we take the top two numbers and we add them together. We already got a common denominator, so we've checked for that, so that we're good to go. So we do 15 plus 6, that's 21 over 30. And there it is. So if you have a common denominator, life is good. Now, let's go with the scenario where, as if we don't have a common denominator. So let's say we had something like, now I'm going to keep it simple to start us out here, 1 over 5 plus 3 over 10. So immediately what you notice here is that we don't have a common denominator. So there's a couple different things that I like to show my students starting out, and how to find a common denominator. So if you're not sure how to find a common denominator, you might be able to look and say, I know what it is right now. But if the common denominator is I have to get the same number on the bottom, and how can I do that? So what I like to do, if I'm really stuck, I like to write my numbers out right here like this. So what I'll do is I'll start with the first number, 5, and then I'll keep, so I did 5 times 1, and I'll keep multiplying it by numbers. 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15. So I got a couple numbers in this list, and I'll start the exact same list on the bottom. So I'll do 10 times 1, and I'll stop as soon as I get the same number in both. So if I get the same number in both, then that's my common denominator. So my common denominator is 10. So what I had to ask myself then is, how can I get 10 in the bottom of both of these fractions? Well, I've already got 10 in this one. Now what do I have to do to this fraction to get 10 in the bottom? So if I look at this guy, it's the second number in my list. So therefore, I can multiply the top and bottom by 2. So if I multiply top and bottom by 2, what I'm doing is I'm creating basically an equivalent fraction. So a fraction that's the same as 1 over 5, it just looks different. So I multiply the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. Now you could also ask yourself, what number do I have to multiply 5 by to get 10? And you might be able to get that right away besides looking at your list. So that would be 2 over 10 plus 3 over 10. And once you get good at this, you probably won't need to make this list. It'll probably just come to you automatically. And then we add the top. So 2 plus 3 is 5 over 10. And if you wanted to reduce it down, that would actually be 1/2. Yeah, so there's an example. Let's try one that's slightly more complicated. Let me see. So 2 over 4 plus 1 over 6. So it might not be completely obvious what the common denominator between 4 and 6 is. So again, we can make a list. 4 and 6. So we'll start. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So really I'll just keep adding on 4 plus another 4 is 12. And then I'll keep that list going. Now I'll do a few here. So 6. 6 plus another 6 is 12. And then we got our common denominator right there. It's the first number that appears in my little list. So I know that I have to get 12 on both bottom of both of these fractions. So I ask myself, how can I get 4 to be 12? So if I times it by 3. So if I want to times this by 3, I got to times the entire thing by 3. So top and bottom by 3. So I times this by 3, times by 3, times by 3. And then I end up with 6 over 12. And then I say, what can I multiply 6 by to get 12? So that will be 2. So also, if you look at it, I know that I have to do that because 6 is the second number on my list. So that would mean I multiply it by 2. And 4, I have to multiply by 3, so that's because 12 is the third number on my list. I think I said 6, but 12 is the second number here and third number here, so I multiply by 2, multiply by 3, and that becomes 2 over 12. And then I just add the top, so 6 plus 8, or 6 plus 2 is 8, all over 12. And then I could reduce this down if I wanted to. So they're both divisible by 4, so that would be 2 over 3. So that might not be a necessary step at this point if you're haven't done any reducing of fractions or anything like that. But you know, these are both divisible by 4, so I can divide them both by 4, and then that reduces that down. All right, why don't I do another example? Let me erase all this stuff, clean up my page a little bit. All right, so why don't we do? Let me see. 2 over 7 plus 11 over 21. So if I have something like this, again, I can make a list. So 7, 7, add another 7, 14, add another 7, 21. And then 21, of course, the first one will show up just like that. There's 21. So then I'm asking myself, well, how do I get 21 when I have 7 here? Well, it's the third number in the list, or 7 times 3 is 21, just like that. So it becomes 6 over 21 plus 11 over 21. And that gives me 17 over 21. Alright, so guys, I hope that takes you through like a basic introduction of how to add fractions. It's especially important to know that you have to find a common denominator. And hopefully this helps. And I'll see you guys in class. Thanks for watching.